Hello everyone, Ken and Louie here, and it is August already, which means that it is time for another CannonChat video, and this month has been really going. I mean, July went really fast, definitely way too fast for my liking. So this one's going to be a bit of a longer one, because I do have, well, not necessarily a specific topic of discussion, but at least two specific games I wanted to put out there for an extended time of chatting about them. So, if you haven't already, for these videos I'm basically rambling on about whatever I think of. So, if you haven't already, you know, have some either breakfast or lunch or dinner or your favorite beverage, and relax. So the first thing that I wanted to put out here is that this is what the custom thumbnail I was going to use for the CannonChats. So obviously it still isn't done yet. And to be honest, I haven't really done anything with it for probably a month and a half or 2 months. So definitely have been slacking there in that regard. But what I was going for is having my avatar mascot image of a Templar Knight being at a campfire. So he has a stick for hot dogs to cook on the fire, kind of as a relaxing themed thumbnail with a sunset in the background. So kind of like that bonfire feel. So that's kind of that's what I was going for. Unfortunately, though, Paint Shop Pro. Well, pretty much anything that is for making your own artwork, it takes a long time to understand and learn all of the different tools at your disposal. And unfortunately, with Paint Shop Pro anyway, they don't have a search function, which I think Photoshop might have. So that is really irritating to me because, well, unless there is a search function somewhere up here that I don't know about. But it doesn't have that search function to basically search in there of what tools I want to use. So let's just say I want like a blending tool or something along those lines, because the sunset I wanted to blend the various shades of colors together in order to make it more natural looking, but they don't have an option to search it, so I would probably have to Google it in order to find out. And also, just me being more used to using pencil and paper for drawing stuff, definitely this was very different for me. So I will try to keep working on it eventually, but that's kind of where I'm at the moment. So with that out of the way, some updates before I get into having some gameplay footage is that when I put out there that I would, for the last CannonChat video of trying to get back to my regular schedule, I have been not uploading as frequently as I would honestly like, and there's a few reasons for that. And I think the primary reason is that for Resident Evil 1 Remake, like, it really burnt me out, and I've stated that multiple times, and I wasn't sure about how I felt about starting a new project. I did mention either Portal 1 or Half-Life 2 Episode 1 as potential options for me to work on, since they're a little bit shorter and everything. But I just have been doing a few odds and ends of stuff in my life that my parents needed me to look at a few things because they were trying to get rid of some things. And I've been playing Sword Art Online Alicization Lycoris, of course, since the game has came out, and I have been really casual about playing it, in the sense of taking my time and just kind of letting it soak in. And that is one of the games that I was going to talk about in this CannonChat, but I'll get into that when I have gameplay footage up later in this video. So, for Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet, I've mostly been focusing on doing those, if I'm doing something that I'm going to upload, because they're really low maintenance in terms of what I'm currently doing in the game. I decided to do no commentary for. It's a dungeon that's 50 floors, and I didn't think that I would be adding much by adding commentary to it, and it just makes it easier for me and everything. So it's pretty much as simple as you can get. It's just a matter of recording the gameplay. But yeah. So without further ado, let me get into a game for background footage. Okay, so for the rest of this, for the majority of this CannonChat video, I'm probably just going to do some World of Warplanes. I will have some Sword Art Online Alicization Lycoris gameplay once I get to talking about it. And they have a 5x experience event for the first win that I've been taking advantage of. And since I have a few planes that I still have 5x's for, I figured why not. So, with that, got into a battle right away even. So, for the rest of this video, I'm going to primarily be talking about Sword Art Online Alicization Lycoris, which I'll do at the end of the video, and then before that I'm going to talk about a game called Arknights, which has a anime-themed visual style for its characters, and so if you aren't interested in either of those, then feel free to click off the video if you want. So for Arknights, it is a game that I've been playing quite a bit lately. It's one of those games that does have like daily missions and stuff, so there's that. It is a tower defense game, and how I actually got into it is kind of ironic. And so it was one of those games that has a lot of advertisements for it, evidently. And I was playing a game that was the second game in the series of Eternal Senya, which is a free-to-play game that was on Steam that I enjoyed. And then I found out that the sequel to it, Eternal Senya 2, or I think it's officially called like Eternal Senya Rise of Hydra Dragon or something like that. I don't have the name right in front of me to look. But anyway, it's Eternal Senya 2 is a clicker game that also has anime themed visuals. But I primarily got that because it's a continuation of the story of the first game, and I thought the story wasn't too bad for the first game. So I was like, yeah, you know, well, might as well give it a try. And I'm the type of person that doesn't really have any phone games. So Eternal Senya 2 is actually the first phone game that I've ever really had. When I was growing up, I didn't really have a good enough phone to actually do anything. Uh, anything to play apps. I think until I got out of high school, I had an iPhone 4, which wasn't really all that impressive. Especially when I got it. I think the iPhone 5S or C, iPhone 5S or the iPhone 6 was out. So definitely, so it was definitely not really good enough to play phone games. So, and then I also wasn't really all that interested in phone games in general. So, playing this game, Eternal Senua 2, they have a instance where you watch an ad in order to get some premium currency, because it actually has gameplay of a gacha game, which, I mean, they did implement it like decently well, but I don't know, it wasn't like super amazing in that regard. But for the ads, I would pretty much get ads for Arknights like over half of the time. And the ads are... They don't really they don't really explain why you should play the game. Let's just put it that way. So the ads would be like showing people pulling certain characters out of the chance thing. Like with the whole gacha thing. Arknights is also a gacha game, but is ironically probably the most free-to-play friendly gacha game that I have ever seen, at least. Granted, again, I don't play phone games much, so I'm not really familiar with more than a few of that genre. But anyway, the game's ads would show people pulling like the highest level operators and everything, which are actually 6 stars in that game. But at the same time, like if you've never played the game, it doesn't really give you a... Why would I be happy or care about just someone pulling the highest rate operators, especially ones that are apparently really rare in the game, but it's like I don't have the context of what that is to care, so it's just kind of weird. And then they also had ones that would at least show like that it was a tower defense, but it wasn't really very good at explaining or showing the gameplay of the game to get me interested in the game. So it was pretty much one of those things where I wasn't... I didn't really think about it all that much. I kind of figured that Eternal Senua 2 would be my only phone game that I would concern myself with. But after a while, after seeing those ads and everything, I usually listen to video game music instead of whatever video game that I am playing. I typically listen to like background music of games that I typically like better, or just original compositions from various YouTuber artists. So one of those times I actually got it showed Arknights as one of the suggestions, and I figured, you know, since I've been getting so many ads for this, why not give it a shot? And I was amazed at how amazing the music was for the game. Get over this. Oh, both these guys are over here. I don't know why this guy is turning with me, but Yeah, if you're in a heavy in this game, don't turn. Don't turn unless you are at high altitude. So I'm trying to get away from this stupid Yak 19 over here. Do a little bit of damage to this guy. And I didn't realize that it was Squall Line, of course it is. But nearly 16,000 after the battle ends, that's not too bad for this thing. But anyway, I was amazed at how good the music was in the game. And based on the background of me looking at the ads, I had no idea or even a hint that this game would really have anything spectacular in it. The ads just did not give me a reason to care about the game or explain any complex mechanics of the game, like just the bare bones stuff. And one thing that I would kind of laugh at is that one of the ads that Arknights would do is that they would show an operator that would be at level 1 and then like failing a mission, but then like fully maxed out, they would kill everything. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of how level progression works in games. You know, you level up to gain improved stats or ability to defeat stuff. So I didn't really see what the point of that was. But anyway, more on the topic. So Arknights, like, in general, is a tower defense game that has very complex mechanics. For an example, each character that you can use, called operators, they have their own range statistics. They have their different roles. Like, of course, you have defenders, which stop enemies, and then melee damaging units, and then ranged units, mages, essentially, to deal what's called arts damage, is their equivalent of dealing magical damage. And they actually have a really good storyline, or at least on the world building part. I would say, like, for the first 2 chapters at least, the pacing could have been better, definitely. And the story is told through visual novel storytelling. So it would show the anime styled artwork, and then have the characters talk to each other with subtitles. And they don't actually use like in-game voices in those specific cutscenes. Like only for like battle and stuff and upgrading them and whatnot do they really ever talk to know how they sound and everything. So with that music, it really just dawned on me that, you know, maybe there was a little bit more to this game than I originally thought. And when I finally decided to download it, I was very impressed with how well the mechanics work together and how complex they were able to make it. And like I said, the first 2 chapters could have had a little bit better pacing, but overall, the world building that they were able to do was very good in its own right. So the story is like there's this somewhat new material called iridium that makes people sick, but it gives them the ability to use the arts. So basically they can use essentially magical abilities, but they have a life-threatening disease in order to get it. So it's just pretty interesting concept there. And then that's how they explain, like, pretty much every character's ability, and a lot of the characters also have human and animal aspects. So, like, they're humanoid with tails and stuff of, like, various animals. And while they don't exactly outright explain, like, why there are humanoid type people, like, you can infer that it is because of the iridium stuff. Get him off me. And nobody's going after that, of course. So yeah, with that, that concept there, the infected is what the sick people are called, and they have basically been persecuted by this military. Well, it's mainly just a populace discrimination against them. And of course I think I get killed by something that had 1 HP, because, you know, why would you finish off anything? And the infected basically form a group that basically wants to take revenge on everybody. And then your character's group is basically the only people who, like, kind of sympathize with both sides. So that's kind of the gist of it. And for the mechanics side of things, when I said it was very well thought out, is that they kind of force you to think out of the box as soon as you get to the higher level operations. See if I can get this guy here. For an example, they have enemies that explode when you finish them off. Going a little bit too fast to go after him. So you have to basically deal with them either sacrificing units to get rid of them, or find a way to make it so that they don't explode. There's an ability called Silence that makes it so that it removes that effect from them. But that's a very rare thing. They also have the instance of, let me think here. Defenders have really high defense, but how the art's defense works is that it's a percentage, not a raw number like the physical damage defense is, and a lot of defenders have no resistance against arts. So at some point in the game, all of the major enemies deal arts damage, and you have to figure out a way to deal with that. So it's very, very interesting and tactical. And I kind of think of the game as more of a puzzle game than a tower defense game, you know, having which operators put where in order to achieve victory and everything. Oh, an IL-40P, that explains a lot, actually. So that was kind of what really intrigued me as time went on. But I think the very best thing about Arknights, besides it being very free-to-play friendly, you can easily get the premium currency of the game free to play, at least enough to do what you need to do, essentially. Let's get rid of him so I have a little bit more capture points. See if I can take the middle of this spot here. Huh, I'm kind of surprised that those were... There we go. The other thing that surprised me is that, being a gacha game, it has rarities. So, of course, some operators, it goes from rank 1 to rank 6. And, of course, the rank 6 operators are a lot rarer than everything else. Well, how they balanced it is that there are some low-level operators that are actually really good if you invest in them. And that was something that really shocked me, is that it isn't so much so that being rank 6 means that they just completely outright nullify everything of its same type. The lower ranked operators can and will sometimes outclass higher ranked operators, which is very surprising. Like, they came out with a new 6-star operator that wasn't really that much better, if at all, compared to a 4-star operator if you invested in her. And and that is just really just mind-boggling to me that happened, that they balanced it in that way. Waiting for my bombs to come up to destroy the middle here. How did that not flip the zone? Okay, then. There we go. But yeah, there's even a 3-star operator that has really huge health pool for her type, and she has a very significant amount of attack that's on parallel to 6-star operators. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, wait, what? Isn't the 6-star supposed to outdo outdo the lower level operators and everything? And I find that really interesting. So that was kind of the gist of my experience with Arknights as a whole. It's just one of those things where it's really a shame that the game is advertised as it is, in complete honesty, because the advertisements really don't give you any reason to, or at least for me anyway, it didn't give me any reason to ever think about the game, think about trying the game. And what got me into the game was how good the music was. And it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, why don't they just show, an operation of just gameplay and just showing off the music and the tactics of the game? Maybe have someone explain some of the mechanics a little bit, but to get what's going on. But it's just, seeing someone get a high-ranking operator, it doesn't give me any context of why I should care about that, because I'm not playing the game, or showing that a character is better when you upgrade them, because that's how most games work if they have a leveling system. Or they show the bare minimum of what the gameplay is and everything. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, how does such a good game, in my opinion, advertise itself so poorly, and pretty much the only reason why I was ever interested in the game was finding the music basically on my own time. And because of how good the music was, I decided to try it out. So my point being is if you are interested in anime, you've probably seen advertisements for Arknights somewhere. And what I'm going to say is that the game, as of right now, with their system, is easily probably the best free-to-play, especially gacha game, but probably best... Well, I don't know about best phone game, but definitely you can easily get by being free-to-play in the game. So you don't even need to spend money in it. And honestly, because of how good the game is, I am more willing to spend money than not. I'm not planning to, but I would be a lot more willing to because of that experience in comparison to other games. Like, I just feel like they've earned something from how good they made everything. So if you've seen advertisements for Arknights and you may not have cared for the advertisements or just have been really confused on what they're trying to put forth, what I'm going to say is that I would suggest putting in at least a little bit of research, or even just look up like the main soundtrack of the game or the store soundtrack of the game. Those are two especially good ones, and see what you think, because I really don't think that the advertisements does the game justice whatsoever. So with that is my story about how I got into Arknights. So for the rest of this, I am going to talk about my experience with Sword Art Online Alicization Lycoris. So if anyone doesn't know, that game came out in mid-July. I think it was July 10th, if I remember correctly. And it had a pretty rocky launch. It had really poor frame rates, and it was prone to crashing a lot. And it also had some other bugs in it, and they did improve them to at least a more playable degree. It does seem to crash quite frequently, so in the game I would definitely try to save whenever possible and everything. But I have been enjoying the game a lot more than I thought I would, actually. So without further ado, let me switch from World of Warplanes to showing that game here quick. Alright, now I'm in Alicization Lycoris here. So, my first impressions of the game was that it was very poorly optimized, and let's see if I can actually do some of these. But yes, I thought the game was very poorly optimized, and it doesn't look super amazing. Like, when I was playing Armored Warfare actually earlier today, Armored Warfare actually looks better than this. And that was a game made in 2015, and it hasn't really been changed. Well, I mean, the environments haven't really been changed since it was made. The tank models have obviously been improved greatly, but the environments themselves haven't really been super duper improved. So this game, it doesn't look super amazing right off the bat, and for some reason the water just does not look right in this game. Actually, this is some better looking water than how the game usually looks. Actually, now that I think of it, this might be some of the best looking water in the entire game. But yeah, it's not a very visually impressive game, and it does run a lot better now than it did. I would say that I have the 30 frames per second lock on right now, and it pretty much consistently stays at that rate unless there's a lot of stuff on screen or a lot of special effects. Like commenting bosses that have like a lot of area of effect, particle effects and stuff like that. So I don't think there's really anything specific that I'm gonna do in the game. Probably just like, I guess I could do that. But as time went on, and I got through the first part of the story, I thought the story was pretty decent for the most part. The first entire chapter, which is like 15 to 20 hours of the game, or at least I think it took me over 20 hours to do the first chapter, was basically a retelling of the third season of the Sword Online anime. And it pretty much does a one-for-one retelling, and in the visual novel storytelling, with the new character Medina's background and everything, which is fine, but it really just dragged on way too long for my liking. And pretty much that fact alone makes me very happy that I decided not to do a Let's Play of this game, or at least as of right now I'm not planning to. And like when you're right next to a wall, the frame rate seems to drop a lot. I'm not exactly sure why that is. But the story kind of basically turned into Path of Exile Blight League, which is kind of hilarious. As like overall. But what I was really impressed with was the combat. Now here is basically the primary method of choosing what your party members do, and that is to go into this mode that basically stops time, and then you can order your party members to do skills to basically all attack at the same time. And you pretty much are forced to do this until your party members like learn enough. Their AI kind of learns on their own based on what you tell them to do, which is a really interesting gimmick of this game, but at the same time I don't really feel it was implemented as well as it could have been, or at least they should have had at least like some traits that you could give party members right from the start to at least give them some basic functions, because especially at the start of the game they pretty much just stand around and not do anything. But now having everyone attacking it, we're just really wrecking him here. It's my last party member here. There we go. So just a ton of damage when all my party members sync up here. So the whole idea of the combat is to order your party members to attack all at the same time to basically raise that damage counter, and you deal like bonus damage for doing that. And I think they did a really good job with the combat. It was definitely one of the major positives for me, personally, was this system. But from a narrative point of view, the overall storyline, well, it's all right at the very least. I mean, I quite like it, but I can definitely see why people wouldn't. So, like here, when everyone's down, when the monster's down, you pretty much have to force your party members to attack it, or else they won't do anything while the boss is vulnerable. Which can be annoying. But yeah. But from a narrative point of view, like I was saying, the main storyline, I mean, I quite like it. But it's definitely not, I wouldn't really say, like, it's absolutely amazing by any stretch of the imagination. But what really impressed me was how well they did the side cutscenes. So, for games like this, like basically JRPGs in general, pretty much you have side cutscenes with your party members, or the playable characters in the game, and then that's like about their backstory or what have you. And this game does that surprisingly really well. And it is quite honestly the main reason why I've been enjoying this game so much the past few weeks. Ooh. That's not bad. And the side cutscenes with the characters, basically I kind of figured that they would focus on the main cast of the Sword Art Online characters that have been from the previous games, or pretty much the previous games, or from the anime and everything. I didn't really think that they would really do a lot of cutscenes that really went in depth with the extra characters that are specifically from this game, or from the Alicization arc specifically. And since the problems that this game had from the start, and how rocky Chapter 1 was and everything, I wasn't overly enthusiastic about like progressing through the game. Like, I just kind of wanted to see what this game would do. I mean, I was enjoying it, but not like, how do I say it? I wasn't enjoying it nearly as much as I am now. And that is primarily because of those cutscenes. With the other characters, they went a lot more in depth and everything than I was expecting. As well as they also had a lot of funny moments with all of the characters talking with each other. And they kind of played on the tropes like of Sword Online itself in a way. So if you don't like the main cast, or don't like the Sword Online tropes of this game, of the series in general, is what I meant, they do kind of play on those a little bit, and the specific way that they've been doing it, like, I have personally been enjoying it, but that, on the flip side, could be a negative at the same point for someone who may not be interested in the anime and just wanted to play this game specifically because of how it looks and how it plays and all that. And that was pretty much like when I started to really, really love this game, is by, there was a cutscene with Lineal, specifically, that was talking about her past with Administrator and everything, and it was incredibly heartfelt. Like, I genuinely felt bad for her situation, and felt for her, and everything. And there was also other characters that did similar things in that regard. And it is why I've been really enjoying this game so much lately. And it's just really a shame that the game, even with with my first impressions, like, I thought that I was enjoying it enough to get my money's worth out of it, but for someone who was, I basically recommended that if you aren't a Sword Art Online fan, like, wait until it's on sale, basically. And I think I could still stand by that, especially because of how Chapter 1 is. It just really it drags on way too long. And if I was recording that as a series, oh my goodness, I probably would be, like, just finishing that, like, of recently, if I was uploading every day. And I think that I would have really gotten even more burnt out on it than I was. So definitely reaffirms my decision of not doing a playthrough of this game until, if I do, it's going to be after I know everything. Yeah, after I complete the game and do all of the DLCs, probably. But it's definitely something where, like, me thinking about this game, like, even after it's been improved, like, maybe thinking that this game is maybe a 6 or a 6.5, maybe 7-ish out of 10 at the start. I would definitely say it's more like an 8, 8.5 now, if you enjoy these characters specifically. And I'm just thinking that there was something else I wanted to say, but I just can't think of it right now. Yeah, it just really surprised me, for sure. That is what came about it. Oh yeah, what I was gonna say is that I was very negative about the performance and stuff in this game, and was basically saying, well, why wasn't the game way better optimized than it was, and all that, and why didn't it look better than it did? But after seeing those cutscenes, I genuinely think, like, I can really see the amount of love that the developers, or at least the story writers, put into this game, and to be completely honest, I can quite frankly forgive them for the previous issues that the game had, because I've been enjoying those other aspects so much. And where is this stupid chest? Well, it was probably right there, wasn't it? On top of that. And while I think that they definitely should have made sure that the launch was better than it was, like, if they would have waited until they did at least this first patch that they did, well, first, like, kind of major patch that they did, I think it wouldn't have been nearly as bad as it was. And I think I need to climb this again because of the... Just had to be in the most kind of secluded spot there. So definitely, I can recommend this a lot more than I did before. It's just that first chapter is definitely a barrier to entry, and I would recommend that just watch the anime, unless you really don't like the more adult cutscenes with with season 3 of the anime. They do have some very gruesome scenes, and if that is something that you don't want to deal with, then the game is a good alternative, because they do censor a lot of that, which for me personally is fine. Like, that's basically how they made it so the game wasn't rated mature, basically. Because in the anime they really do some disturbing, to say the least, scenes on some topics. Well, I'll just put it that way. So besides that, what I'm gonna end the talk about Alicization Lycoris here is that in their update that they did, they added a new character, and that new character is actually is a character that was made for the singer of the intro song of the game. So pretty much all of the Sword Online games, at the very least, they have a kind of like an anime opening style animation for the beginning of the game. And for this game, they actually made it so that singer actually has her own character in the game, which I think is really, really cool. And her name is Riona, or Riona. Yes, I managed to get it this time. If I don't mess this up. There we go. Platforming in this game is something. Definitely not the best. It has its potential, but it's definitely not anything super amazing. I think Guild Wars 2 does platforming better in pretty much every sense. But that singer, Riona, has her own character, which is voiced by her, and she has her own story to her character, which is very interesting. And I absolutely love that. Like, just think about any other game being like, oh, well, just have the person who does does music for your game, the composer or something, make an avatar for themselves and put them into the game. Like, how cool is that? And her base skills, like, are more so on the sacred art side of things, and unfortunately she doesn't really have any super special skills. She's a dagger sacred arts user hybrid, and to be completely honest, she just doesn't really excel at either. So she's not a character that is completely overpowered or anything, though I'm sure that if you really wanted to, you probably could make her to be overpowered, but with items and such, but she's also like level 20 when you first get her, and you have to go out of your way to level her up because pretty much everyone else levels up with Kirito. So definitely if you wanted to use her in your party, you're gonna have to do a little bit of extra work to get her to be viable. But let's put her out into the field here. So yeah, just like any character that you can have in your party, she is fully playable. Because in some games when they have like guest characters or special characters, they might be in your party, but then you can't play as them or anything. But this game, every single person that is in your friends list, you can put in your party at least eventually. Cardinal and Barracooli, I think you might need to beat the game to permanently allow them to be in your party. But it's just really awesome that they decided to do that, and I'm kind of hoping that she has some extra story when they add the DLCs, because 2 of the original Sword Online characters are supposedly singers. So them reacting or performing with Riona would be pretty cool, in all honesty. And what I love about Riona is that she has this really quiet but really smooth, soothing voice. That's what I was gonna say. Soothing voice. And I absolutely love it. So, yeah. So I just kind of wanted to put this in the canon chat that Sword Art Online Alicization Lycoris, while it did have a really rough start, this game I've probably been enjoying the most. Well, I have been enjoying Arknights quite a bit, but I would definitely say that this game has been extremely enjoyable for me personally. So, if you are a Sword Art Online fan, I would definitely recommend getting it. If you can sit through the Chapter 1, or at the very least, go through Medina's story and then skip all of the cutscenes from that point onward, that's an option too. But with that, oh yeah, I'm gonna unlock SP Buffer here. Adds area effect to skills. Interesting. Convert defense to attack. Oh, here we go. Sacred Arts Charge Time. What I was gonna say to end it off here is that for the channel itself, I'm still planning on doing more Sword Online Fatal Bullet stuff. So finishing off that dungeon for sure, relatively soon, and then think about what else I wanted to show on that project as I fully complete that project, because that project has been going on way too long, and I think it's been over like 2.5 years. I mean, granted, I did Resident Evil 1 Remake as kind of a break from that, as well as some other projects like Half-Life 2. That project has definitely been out there for quite some time, and I kind of want to get it done. The other thing too is that, like I said before, I might start up a different project in the meantime, and then I have no idea when I'll get to Alien Isolation. I'm just kind of I've just been taking it easy, getting just a break from a somewhat shorter break from YouTube just to, relax, take it easy. The other thing too is that before I end it here, is that August is going to be fairly important to me, from what I understand. I need to definitely rethink what I am going to do for my future career options. And I've mentioned before, I do believe in my Reflection of 2019 video, is that because of my medical condition, I am probably not going to be able to do physical labor as a career as really an option. So it's been a real struggle having to think about what I need to do in order to go forward with that. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like, I know I need to think about and research this. It's just really hard to get myself within that mindset to really think about. It's just been very difficult because there's so many things that I would really love to learn, but they aren't things that I would like to do as a full-time job. Like, for example, video editing would be great for YouTube videos or anything of the sort, but I don't know if I would want to do that as a career. There's just so many things. Like, when you have something as a career, you obviously have the pressure from your employer of doing it well and doing it in a timely manner, and having a certain level of quality. And I just don't. And for these various things that I've thought about, it's just hard for me to ever think about. I think that would be tough on me, if that makes sense. So, with that, there is a possibility that I might not upload a huge amount this month, or at least for a few months. If I'm doing training for something, like online courses and stuff, I'm probably not going to put extra time into recording stuff. So, just to put that out there. I mean, granted, I did say kind of at the beginning that if any of you weren't interested in Arknights or Sword Art Online Alicization Lycoris, that you could tune out, but I just kind of wanted to put that somewhere in the video of, that's kind of my plans as of right now. So if you have been enjoying this whole thing, which is probably going to be over an hour long at this point, that's just the update of things, and I'll probably put it in the description or something. So as of right now, that's what I've been doing, and just definitely some surprises that I wasn't thinking was going to happen as extravagant as enjoying both this game, Sword Art Online Alicization Lycoris, and Arknights, the tower defense anime themed phone game. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed my ramblings of things, and thank you very thanks once again for tuning in. So with that, have a wonderful day.